Okay, so recording should be up. Hello, everyone. Welcome to AI Product Hive Community Call. So today we will be talking about AI research and products that center humans. Please bear in mind that the call will be recorded. So if you would like to cut out some part of our today's conversation, please reach out to me. And this is the schedule for our today's call. So it's 5 minutes introduction that I'm doing right now. Iluvatar demo that can be stretched a bit. So that's like approximate duration. And the discussion, if we will have some time or if we'll have some interesting topics. I've got one that I'm fascinated with right now. So I'll leave that for later, I guess. Meet Parsa. He's a co-founder and CEO at Iluvatar. He's a lead data scientist at Given Tuesday, a data and tech consultant, and solving difficult problems with outsized impact. So nice to meet you, Parsa. And I'm giving you the stage. So yeah, please share your screen and show us what Iluvatar can do.
For sure. Thank you guys so much. Let me share my screen. But yes, thank you for the kind intro. And alrighty. So before we get right into the demo, I kind of want to set the scene a little bit. So so at Iluvatar, one of the things that we're looking to do is generally find out why is it that AI is not quite yet having the revolutionary impact that everyone thinks it'll have in the industry, right? So lots of really exciting research coming out every day, lots of money, lots of investments, lots of hype in AI, but there are really few killer apps, especially compared to how much excitement there is around AI. And so one of our core theses is that there's a critical evaluation and validation problem that's bottlenecking sort of like real world impact of AI, especially Gen AI. So we'll get into what that is in just a moment, but let's set the stage just a little bit. Why is it even hard to begin with, especially in the Gen AI era? In the sort of like pre-ChatGPT era, this wasn't as difficult, right? You had classifiers and you had an accuracy score, or you were doing image segmentation and you also had a metric for like the bounding box that you knew ahead of time. And so classical ML or AI was very much easy to validate. You knew what you had to get out of it. Or even in the pre-ChatGPT era of NLP, the struggle was simply just like getting language to function at all. And so things like perplexity scores were like really good because the criteria was like, does it even look like language? Like if you played around with GPT-2, you'll see a lot of times you don't even get language like outputs, right? And so the metrics were good enough for that. But now the metrics that we have are not really indicative of what we actually want to get out of these models. So this is what makes evaluation extremely difficult on top of all of these other factors, right? So these models are non-deterministic. So even if you can find a metric, your model might not always output that. So you have to run that metric multiple times to get a confidence bound on it. You have a large unexplainable design space, right? So if you do something in a pipeline, it might have large downstream consequences on an LLM. For example, did you know that the text parser, like let's say you're writing a Python function, and you parse text out of a PDF in order to summarize it, and you give it to an LLM, right? That text parser itself has a very big impact on the summarization that comes ultimately out from the LLM. And that's really surprising because you would think that like, you probably have to play with the LLM and not the text parser, right? And beyond that, when you're working with generative AI, the fundamental point to grasp is that it's a subjective evaluation, right? If I ask you like, what's better, Van Gogh or Picasso, what's your answer?
Yeah, that's an
Someone who,
interesting one. I'd go with Picasso.
yeah, but that's your preference, right?
Yes, exactly.
Someone else might say Van Gogh. Someone who's making an art gallery might have a specific theme and they might be going for one of them. So there's no like objective criteria as to like which one is better, right? And so ultimately it just comes down to a manual validation and aligning biases between your developers, your end users, and this whole thing just makes it very, very difficult. and becomes more of an art than a science. Then so what you have in like these big AI companies is functionally your engineering team will build something. They will take it to the product team or their boss and say, "Hey, do you like this?" Like they'll literally show them the outputs, right? Or they'll like take a model and they'll, make, let's say they're building a customer service agent. They'll give it to some customer service agents to play with. Like, is this what you do? Is this similar to what you guys do? Someone like, yeah, it's pretty good. Someone else is like, no, it's garbage. Someone else is like, oh, this is amazing. I could never thought computers could do something like this. And each of them are talking about a different thing entirely, right? So it's very, very vibes based. And what Iluvatar does is say, hey, listen, we'll systematize this. We'll make this much easier so you can iterate faster. And so you can actually deliver AI products that work in the real world. So how do we go about designing a solution? Well, I think you can't escape manual validation. At some point, it's a subjective decision. You're deciding for what use case you want the outputs to be. The other factor we have to consider is that humans don't think probabilistically. So if we see three outcomes that are good, we assume that it's a perfect model. But there's a chance that just probabilistically those three outputs happen to be right, and the model is actually garbage, right? Or if we see three outputs that are wrong, it may be a really, really good model. It just unfortunately got 3 out of the next 20 answers wrong, but it might have gotten the next, 20 right. And that's not nearly as bad of a model as we might think. And also the design space is too complex. So there's too many things to account for. It's just mentally keeping track of it, extremely difficult. So what we do at Iluvatar is we have A/B testing, observability and monitoring, and a search algorithm to sort of combine these three into a solution so that you can do systems design for AI. Now, this is sort of our B2C or B2B offering. So this is what we do for other companies. But for the product that we're going to be looking at today, we're going to be looking at the A/B testing part of it. And this A/B testing part of it is B2C. So you can use it, it's free, and then sort of we offer this extended functionality for businesses. But before I go on, before we sort of like get to our little demo here, does anyone have any questions?
Nope.
No, perfectly straightforward.
Yes.
So then it's either too simple or I messed it up.
Yeah, I guess it's like it's hard to try to get into the conversation based on the points that you've provided, because those are like basically objective facts, I'd say, like that. So yeah.
Yeah,
Could
I
we
mean,
maybe do like an example?
yeah, we'll get into examples right now, but
Okay, awesome.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, you say that it's hard to describe because it kind of makes sense. You'd be surprised how many companies don't actually do this. They're just looking for let's design a metric. Let's use another LLM to judge the outputs of this LLM. And there's all these like crazy things that are happening in the industry. This is actually, if you'd this style of thinking about evaluation is not very common. You'd be surprised.
Yeah, I think they are more focused on like solution part of the problem. So they would like something that already works instead of like diving into the problem and admire that the problem is too complex to comprehend, and we are basically trying to navigate the space, and like you're not providing a out of the box solution for that kind of stuff. So I think that's the case, because we are
Yeah.
not, yeah, we are not interested in like a rock solid solution that will save us money. We are curious about your app and like your approach. I guess that's
Yeah. So I guess, and so this, yeah, so this is the app. We'll run through some examples right now. But basically, this is for if you want to compare a bunch of different models and prompts. Like, so basically, like for the B2C app for a Crucible, we call it Crucible. It's very simple. You have models, you have prompts. You want to know which one's best, what combination works best, right? So let's make a new experiment. So one of the core items in this product is called experiments. So we'll run a new experiment. Let's say we want to do like build a, I don't know, product launching product launch helper, right? So I want to build an AI that will tell me how to launch a product because I've never launched a product before. So let's go to our product launch helper. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to add a model. We're going to select from any number of models we we want to mess around with. We're constantly adding new models. A lot of open source ones. We got Llama, we got Mistral, we got ChatGPT, obviously. So let's just throw in the newest chat model 4.0.
Oh,
right? And so now we have our model there. Let's compare some prompts. So let's say, help me build a 3-year AI product scaling plan. So let's say this is what we want help with, right? That's one prompt we can compare with. Now, if you've played around with prompt engineering, you know that there's some tactics that work really interestingly. So for example, you tell the AI to pretend you are in the top 10% of product managers in the tech industry, right? Now we say, help me build a 3-year product plan, right? Now we're going to add another prompt as well. We're going to try this last one, which is explain your reasoning, sort of chain of thought, right? So help me build a 3-year AI product scaling plan. Explain your reasoning, right? So now I have these 3 prompts. I don't know which one is going to work best, right? But I'm going to try them against this model, right? So this is the model I want to play around with. These are the prompts I'm trying to evaluate. So once I've had my experiment set up, once I've configured my experiment, I can go ahead and press submit. So it'll take a minute for this experiment to load. What's happening behind the scenes is that every one of these prompts is being run against this model. And once we have a good number of those outputs, we can come do side-by-side comparisons. So while we wait for this experiment to run, any thoughts, questions? Does this make sense so far?
Oh yeah, that's looks exciting, and you've showed that drop down with all the models, and it basically went outside of the boundaries of your of your display. So I'm curious, all those models, you've integrated them via the API, or you've got some of those, because some of those are open source from what I've seen. So you're running them somewhere like side by side with your application, or how does that work from the technical perspective?
From a technical perspective, we have this universal model interface. And so there's a few different APIs to interface with these LLMs. Some of them are just like generic, like the OpenAI standard. The OpenAI client is pretty good. A lot of the models conform to it. Bunch of others is like Anthropic has their own as well. We implement them, and yep, we host some of the models. We just pull in some of the models. There's a combination of things, but basically we just make it easy for you to use any model. So always adding in new ones as well. So if there's one that you saw that it's missing, we're most likely developing an interface for it. So just keep an eye out for that. Over time, we'll sort of add more and more, keep up to date with all the models that come out. And just to give you a sense of where we're at with this product, we are doing a stealth launch of it Monday in 3 days. So if you would like, send us your email, and we would gladly add you to the beta testing list. And so we're hoping that once we soft launch this on Monday, we'll be able to sort of get people to stress test it, try it out, give us feedback, and then sort of by like next month, we'll have it like publicly launched, and we'll do the whole like product hunt thing and all that good stuff. So this is taking a surprising amount of time to load.
Talking about your stealth launch,
Yeah.
who's the target audience for the beta testing?
Yeah, anyone who's just curious to play with LLMs, honestly. If you just want to like see the different results and the outputs, and of course a live demo, things will not quite work. But we can go to this other experiment that I've pre-configured here, right? And while we wait for that one to queue up, maybe it's backlogged. But in this other experiment that we've configured ahead of time, we have 4.0, we have Llama, and we have Google's Gemma, right? So these are the 3 models that we're comparing. And let's say we want to generate a tweet in less than 120 characters promoting a wheelless bicycle. So a little fun thing that we're gonna look at. So now let's evaluate these side by side. And it's basically, you just pick. Revolutionize your, so I guess how about we do this together as a group? I want you guys to take a look, read this, and tell me left and right. We can do a little vote.
Mm,
I feel like I like the first one, but honestly, neither are bad. Is there a reason you don't have a button for maybe like both are good?
Yes, because ultimately we want to be able to tell you we want to force you to make a decision. If,
Okay.
right, like if you look at this and you say, oh, they're both good, you don't really, not really thinking about it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So if you have to make a decision, what are you making? Which one do you choose? Left?
I'd go with the
Yeah, we'll go with
one
left.
to the left.
All right.
Yes.
So we're going to do this a couple times. So what about this one?
I think I will go left again.
Yes.
All right.
This is Bill here.
Hey, what's
Is fictitious, or are there such things as wheelless bicycles?
no, we're just having some fun. This is completely
Okay, fine, good.
we haven't gotten that far with AI yet.
Yeah, I'd go with the right one, I think.
Yeah.
Built the right one. What about this? Let's do this like 5 more times, let's say.
Mhm.
Probably right again.
Right.
I could put you in touch with people who have a lot of problems or real use cases.
Oh yeah. This is we think is the critical bottleneck in a lot of AI applications right now. People don't know how to evaluate these things. But let's just say let's go left here. I like pedal without pedals. That's a fun little slogan. Discover the future. No, pedal without pedals is more fun. I like pedal without pedals. That's a good. Say goodbye to spokes. That's also that's fun. I like that. Okay, say goodbye to spokes. Say goodbye to wheel wobbles. That sounds stupid. No, let's go with this one. Experience the future of cycling. What am I, corporate? No. Pedal without big expense. These are both not great. No, pedal without wheels is not fine. Ditch the wheels. Pedal without wheels. Okay, let's do this a couple more times. There we go. So now that we've done a bunch of evaluations, we can come to the dashboard and see what our preferences are for this type of experiment, right? And so surprisingly, we see just based off of our own preferences, we kind of don't like the GPT-4o model. So amongst these two, they're pretty similar. Gemma and Llama 3 are pretty similar in the score and their ELO ranking, and GPT-4o is not great. So, this is like one really simple way for you to experiment and see, okay, for my use case, if I'm building a tweet for this, maybe Gemma suits my style more than GPT-4o. And you wouldn't know this until you sort of like do this experiment, right? You just kind of have to try this out. So let's see if yeah, so what do you guys think? What's your take?
I think that if you would kind of productize the part where people can basically pick what they like the most between different options, I think that would cause a huge splash in the AI market right now, because from what I've seen, every AI influencer tries to come up with their tier list of those models and basically claim that this model is the best, or like use this one for image generation and this one for like text generation, text retrieval, etc. But there is no objective like
Metric, maybe.
metric, yes.
Yeah.
Because people are saying what they like or what they've been paid for, and that's the problem. So if you would kind of run this kind of marketing campaign the same way that Mark Zuckerberg did, that kicked off the Facebook back in the days when he was a student. So he basically made a software that basically compared people in the in their campus at their university. So that might be a really cool thing to play with as a marketing strategy. Like, I think so, because from what I see right now, this is absolutely unpredictable for me. I thought that GPT-4 would be like 2 steps ahead from both those other models, and it turned out that this is not the case. So for me, it's like absolutely unexpected, I'd say so.
Yeah.
I have a similar thing that came up this morning. We have a gentleman here in Austin who's working on a highly sensed highway system, a new kind of highway system. And I can see where they could pick up the data that you need from it's a pole that will go along the highway that's got a number of different sensors. I forgot to give you examples, but anyway, that collect data. And of course, the AI is going to feed it so that the highway is efficiently used and all that. So this would be a great, already existing problem that's being worked on to give you your gem along. Are there more of these tools?
Not that
Tools,
we know of. Sorry?
AI tools, whatever you, I mean, I want to give him a class name. I'm going to go back to this guy and tell him.
Yeah. So I mean, feel free to check out our website. This is aluvatar.tech. You got, I'll throw it in the comments as well. This is Crucible. This is our sort of like public free product, and this is sort of our like B2B product that we're rolling out. So do get in touch. We'd love to talk. But yeah, so hopefully, this is surprising, right? Like I didn't, you could have chosen the answers that would have brought GPT-4 up, right? Like this was not staged. Like if you had chosen the outputs of GPT-4, then that's what it would have been shown, right? So it's completely subjective is the point of like evaluating generative AI. And you kind of just have to like know what your audience is. You have to know what you want. And this sort of tells you that. Right, it's not clear.
That seems to be the coin of the realm, and it's getting beaten up.
Yeah, for sure. Like
by what are they called? Hallucinations.
Yeah, I mean, like the hallucinations are, they're kind of a feature for Gen AI, right? Like if you're trying to be creative or if you're trying to do something, then it might be a right answer, right?
Yeah. Well, Mr. Musk has some problems with his Tesla's blowing up or crashing rather. He got some money to fix this.
Nice.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, let's proceed with the demo, I think.
Yeah. So I mean, there we go. I guess it was just maybe the servers were backed up for a second there, but now we have, wow, this is much longer than I expected. I guess we can spend some time reading through this, although that might not be the best use of our time, but you get the point of the product, right?
Yeah.
If you have some things and you want to test out sort of, maybe in the configuration, I should have limited it to a few characters here, but let's just like, for example, like do a brief year one development and initial launch, research and planning, conduct market research. Yeah, they're probably both pretty similar. Prototype. Yeah, you know what? Let's just go with this one. Building a 3-year involves multiple phases. This is the high level. I don't like this one. It's bragging about himself as a top tier product manager. Screw off.
I can already smell the absolutely one being ChatGPT, but let's see how it goes.
So this one actually is just all 4.0, but the prompts are different.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one is just like, help me build a 3-year AI product scaling plan. I don't know. I was trying to make it relevant to this group. And then here it's like, pretend like you're in the top 10% of product managers, right? And also help me, explain your reasoning, right? So this is the chain of thought type of prompting. Yeah, let's just randomly click through some of these guys. Oh, this guy's talking about GDPR. Great. Good job. Thank you for mentioning that. You too. Good job for mentioning GDPR. We care about this. KPIs, great. We definitely need KPIs. This guy doesn't talk about KPIs. This one does. Okay, cool. Assemble a team, hire a team. Okay, so they're both doing the same thing. Continuous monitoring. Okay, this one has continuous monitoring. This one doesn't. So we're gonna prefer this guy. I just do a couple more random ones just to get through it. But you get the point of what's going on. Now I'm gonna go to our dashboard. Yeah. Then we see, oh hey, this explain your reasoning was the best. This one is the better prompt to use compared to these other two prompts. Of course, you can mix and match. You can have multiple models and multiple prompts, and you'll get all combinations of models and prompts here. But of course, you should design your experiments in a way that makes sense to you, right? So if you ask it like, tell me the rules of chess and also make me a tweet, then it'll be hard to compare those two things, right? So you should just like keep in mind that when you're building your experiments, you should make them with sort of a reasonable intuition in mind. And that sort of concludes our product. Like it's we're adding lots of support in the coming weeks, especially for beta testers. So if you want, there is a wait list you guys can join, and we definitely do recommend you guys.
Those other buzzwords, Shepherd? What?
Oh,
What?
yes. Our product is called AI Shepherd. So it'll
Yeah.
help. Yep, it'll help you navigate sort of the space.
And Crucible?
And Crucible, which is our sort of our public facing product that is anyone can use. So this is for
And
the public,
others?
and Shepherd is for businesses.
Okay.
Yeah.
The products you found?
Are there other products? Well, these are the products that we offer. So this is
Okay, no, that's a good start
yeah.
to talk to one person.
Yeah, so please, join the waitlist if this is something you're interested in. We're adding tons of new. Oh, I logged out there.
Great.
So, we're adding new.
We've got a very strong AI group. I don't know if people know about it. They all know about California companies, but here in Austin being built up. So
Oh, nice. Yeah, would love to be in touch with anyone working in AI. Would love to be in touch with like people who are building products, people who are just like, for their own use cases, wanting to know, hey, like what's the best model out there? What's the best way to prompt a model? Even if you're using just ChatGPT and you're thinking to yourself like, okay, how do I get the answer I want in the format that I want? The interface is not really nice for doing that. It's not a good product for experimenting with many different settings. And so
yeah. And if you've already done some thinking, you could maybe the two groups put together. Another person involved in this group, Matt Genovese, he's just busy, or Matt's not here, right?
Yeah, Matt is busy. So Matt is AI Product Hive co-founder. So he's busy and he was not able to attend the call. But the case is that like in general, AI Product Hive, like all those groups of people that you've just described, people who are like product managers or curious about how different AI models work, etc., or working in AI industry, all those categories are basically present in AI Product Hive until some extent. So that's basically the people that we've built the community for. So when you will be doing your soft launch, please share the link with the community. We've already shared our emails with Juan in the chat. But yeah, I think we need to join via the waitlist functionality on your website.
Well, also, if we have some people here, we've had AI guys working on a lot of things here. You might be able to improve Shepherd and Crucible.
yeah, that would be great. Like if
Make you the ones that this group's going to have to test out the highway systems around the United States. We might as well use just one set of testers and models. Model builders, I guess is the way to say it.
definitely, yeah, for sure.
And we'll some deal out where the rights can be used.
Yeah.
By the way, have you considered open sourcing your product, so to say, or you'd like to keep it?
Yeah, there's another.
We're not sure yet because we're like a young company. We're like 4 or 5 months in. It sort of depends on like the funding landscape. Like if we can get if someone will pay us to make this open source, we'd love to do that, right?
Yeah.
Most open source projects, not most, but a lot of open source projects that are very, very well maintained have a group of paid developers working on it. Right. Yeah, I mean, we don't know yet. We know that we want to keep Crucible free. So a Crucible will hopefully, as long as we're around, will be free. So we can use it. But whether it'll be open source is just like it's a web app, right? So how useful that would be, don't know. Do you think would you like this as an open source platform?
I'm working at Red Hat as a software engineer, so I've got this thing for open source software, I think. So that's why I'm like kind of into it. But those kind of comparison tools are super popular right now in the open source industry at least. So like I think that might be like your software is a really cool benchmark that you can uh like uh, you can refer to when you're making conclusions, because that's basically the whole reason behind it, from what I understood. Like you're trying to find out the most optimal model for your specific task, and if you're doing that using the black box, essentially, your results might be disputed. And if that is open, like at the beginning of your talk, you've mentioned that Python parser might pull some data from a document and then send it to ChatGPT, but the problem might be inside of the parser, not the model. So that's why I'm curious, like if it can be made open source, so that those claims that your software might work a bit different depending on what model it's working with, so that those claims would be invalidated. But the more I think about that, the more I like kind of shifting towards that. At the end, the results are based on human interaction. So even if the black box operates a bit like I'd say not clear, so I have no idea how you evaluate those points for the LLMs. But like eventually everything is based on my decisions when I'm picking up the prompts. So yeah, probably that's not crucial for your product to be open source, to be trustworthy. So like that's the point, I think.
There's another angle for selling this here. There's this nasty word called hallucinations. If you've encountered somewhere you've resolved in the models, the future hallucinations, I think that's a great way to get people's attention.
Yeah, for sure.
The hallucinations, and I've heard one theory about why this happens. The guy I sing in a choir with, but anyway,
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the goal is to make these things behave in the way that you want them to behave, right? So hallucinate in the way that you want them to hallucinate.
you want them to behave in a way that makes money.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, right? The way that you want
In
might be
Europe,
money.
they're going wild over hallucinations. They're cutting down on.
Yeah.
nuisance.
And to your point, Max, one of the things that we're looking to build with AI Shepherd. Now, this product is still in the design phase right now. One of the things we're looking for design partnerships with here is building integrations that can test. Basically, this is an algorithm that just sits behind Crucible, right? So what we'll do is we'll say, hey, listen, with code, integrate all of the things that you might change, right? So you might wrap your parser, you might wrap your embeddings, you might wrap whatever, right? And you would still come here and you would still do evaluations, right? You would still do your evaluations. And now you're
the test loads.
Sorry?
They're running the test loads now in this particular application area.
Yep. Yeah. But instead of defining your configurations in this app here, you might be able to define them in code. You might be able to define them by just like putting a listener or something like that. And so that's still being designed. We're still looking for help or in design partnerships on this front. So that you can orchestrate a lot more parameters. So you can orchestrate any number of parameters, any number of system design choices, any number of inputs and outputs and user segments and all that stuff. So I help you orchestrate all of that. Ultimately, though, we still think at the end you have to come in here and do some A/B testing. But once you do that, we'll tell you, hey, listen, here's the matrix of all of the things that we've tested. This is the best one for your use case, right?
Well, I'll tell you what to instrument in the cars that you're trying to avoid getting wrecked.
Sorry?
For my case situation, or the one I'm the case study or anyway, you're able to outfit the car, the plant now for Tesla's here in Austin.
Yeah.
And so you could set those cars up, and the test highway is being built.
Mhm.
You get a head start and find maybe some new things you got to do for prompts.
Yeah, for sure, right? Like, I mean, there's tons of applications of these things, and you know, as long as there's a human in like in the loop looking at these things, that's where we think that like there's an application for it. And honestly, like our whole thesis, the reason that we say like centering humans is we think that the future of AI is this. The future of AI is not like build a data set and start to fine tune it and start to like back and forth with like, you know, your engineering team to do whatever. The future of AI is just like saying, hey, I want this. Okay, not this, not this, not this, I want this, right? Until you
And you're not going to people who are just the programmers. Now we're down to where we do walkthroughs or whatever sprints and things like that because we know what's ahead. But
exactly.
this is
Yeah.
all new territory.
Yeah. And so if AI is going to be revolutionary, it's not going to be a thing that only PhD graduates from Stanford can play with, right? And
Yeah.
that's why we say it's centering humans. So we like our whole thesis, our whole thing is if you're a company and you're saying, how do I get rid of my customer support staff and replace it with AI, right? You're in a scarcity mindset. You're thinking about how can I make my business, right?
Yeah.
But instead, if you think to yourself, how can I give my customer support staff superpowers? How can I help them do their work, but much, much better, an order of magnitude, 2 orders of magnitude better, right? Then you're in an abundance mindset. And that's where we want to come in. We want to work with companies who have that sort of like abundance mentality to say, hey, we're going to put the people that are using the AI at the center of this work through the evaluation process. We're going to let them guide the iteration and the development of this AI. And then now your engineers, based off of the end user feedback, right? So can make much more informed decisions, right? This is pretty standard in normal software engineering, right? To have like the end user drive the development.
Yeah, but
But
here's the difference.
yeah,
Your car is going to, in this particular test case, the
yeah,
car is going to center it back, and they're going to put poles up with sensors like LiDAR is the one that this fellow was talking about.
mm-hmm.
So you're going to have to you'll go through this engineers and all that, but you're going to have to already start getting this to inputs in from that highway.
Yeah, yeah.
And unfortunately, I think at this point, I can't think how they're going to stage an accident. But anyway, but you have an answer for the guy, and he's got the test run or whatever set up in this area. If you think of a map of Texas, you got Dallas Fort Worth in the north, you got Houston over by the Gulf of Mexico, and you got Austin and San Antonio back in the middle more, and it's a triangle. And I call it transformative technology triangle.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah,
great
yeah,
test. I mean, you couldn't afford you can afford the
yeah.
people to do the test, checking your code, but
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, Texas has a great tech scene, but in for driverless cars or self-driving technology in general, most of that is actually not done in the real world. I mean, there's some of it that happens some of the testing happens in the real world, but the majority of the testing, especially like you said, like you can't crash into a building, happens in simulations. So they simulate like a map of downtown Dallas, and they'll put a car in there and they'll run the algorithm, see if it like runs.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's what, and they're working all that up in terms of the real, if having humans going out and say, oh, that guy almost hit the guy or whatever.
Yeah.
This is what,
Yeah.
but this would be great. You could outfit the cars with a few more sensors.
Yeah.
But right now they're using poles because you can't go knock on my door and say, you just bought a Tesla.
Yeah. Or here's another use case of it, right? Like for the self-driving car situation. What if you had like a bunch of videos of people dangerously driving, like let's say for insurance purposes, or like you have truck drivers that are doing dangerous driving, right?
To this accident.
Yeah. I mean, instead of having to like try to sit there and like think about what makes a dangerous sort of truck driver, you can see it. Usually, if you look at a video of like a truck driver, you can tell when they're being dangerous, right? But then extracting that information from like telemetry data or from video data might just be like a headache, right? So why don't you just like do the evals and let the eval guide your decision-making process for what parameters to use, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got something to really make a world difference.
We're really hoping so. Yeah, we're like pretty new. We've been working on this for about, 2 months now. Doing a lot of research as well. So this is just sort of like a web app. This is a way to like interface with this product, but hopefully we'll have like algorithms that help do model and prompt and parameter selection, system design selection, integrate it with your code base so you can do a lot more tweaking and orchestration.
Yeah.
But for now, as it stands, this is still useful, right? As an MVP, this is still a useful product where you can come in and you can try out all the different models and see how they perform, or you can try like one model and against a bunch of different prompts, or you can maybe do both and
Yeah.
what
That's
happens.
great.
Juan
When I
raised
saw
his
you
hand.
had prompts earlier and the stuff that's gone out, I didn't think of that. I just know it's a big problem. And around here, it's the guys that are into the modeling and all that stuff are
Yeah,
really
Bill, sorry for interrupting. Juan raised his hand
fine. I'm
some
glad I got
time
it.
ago. Yeah.
Your effort was worth it, Knox.
You're muted, Juan.
You're muted.
Sorry.
Damn, sorry. Well, first, congratulations. The product is really awesome. I really learned a lot about it. And I wanted to ask a couple questions, if that's okay. First, this is just thinking aloud. I would love to see some metadata, like maybe in the homepage, telling me, for example, for email marketing prompts, this is the winning model. For coding, this is the winning model. By this with this course, stuff like that would be, I mean, not only useful, but also a really good proof of concept of what your platform is available to deliver to users, right? But at the same time, as I was thinking about, let's say, for example, I want to do email marketing, right?
Yeah.
And I try I use your platform once, twice, thrice. And what I figure is that Claude is usually the best platform for me to do that, right? What's gonna keep me coming here once I figure out that Claude is the way to go?
That's a
Have you thought about that? How are you gonna retain customers eventually?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think for the light touch user, that's it. You're done, right? Like Claude is good for my emails. You're good to go, right? But I think for more serious users, right? So this is where you would come back to this more and more when you let's say for example, you're a company and you have new user groups or new preferences or user specific preferences, right? So like let's say you're building a service that makes marketing material. You're not just making marketing material for yourself. You're a marketing agency, and every one of your clients or every one of your basically clients or consultants has a different preference. And so you give this to them and they play around with it, and then now you know, like, okay, for this user, this is the right one. And then your next client will have a different preference, and your next client will have a different preference, right? Or if you're a business and you're building like a product, you probably won't use Crucible, but it's the same procedure, right? You, instead of just two parameters, you have multiple parameters. You'll have a list of parameters. And then you will have new user groups. Your user preferences will change over time. People, like even like look at Gmail. Gmail, the app hasn't changed at all, but Google probably hires like 40 developers just to maintain Gmail, right? Like these things need maintenance. Like people's preferences change, things you don't expect to change. You have new user groups, these sort of things. So like you'll never finish a product and be done with it. And so that's where we sort of like aim to sit with, is sort of in that like, hey, listen, we'll like keep telling you like what the best thing is. Just like we'll monitor, we'll tell you what the best thing is, we'll keep you up to date, we'll give you recommendations. Like there'll always be new models, there'll always be new features, people will always demand more things. Like it's it'll never be solved. So that's like the space we plan to play in. Yeah.
I would try to add into my roadmap, considering how I could retain those customers, like give them features that keep them coming on, and not be only like maybe use the platform once every 6 months or once a year, just to check what model fits my needs most likely at that moment, right?
Yeah. So like what's a good, like let's brainstorm, I mean, if you don't mind, like why would you want to come back to a product like this?
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, I'm not really sure. That's what I was wondering, because I feel, for example, I feel like this is something I would use heavily while I'm doing research, right? On what's the best to code, what's the best, for example, to maybe simplify some user terms and conditions and whatnot. But I want to, for example, let's say that I don't pay anything at all at that starting point, or I pay, or I start my subscription, right? I think it's really important to understand what can you do to maybe lower, make exit barriers higher, right? What can you do to have users keep working on your platform and not just say like, okay, the ChatGPT for all is better for this and that's it. That's all I need. This is something that I would myself work on, and maybe what I would do to find that solution is try to, for example, I assume you have some data on users. Let's say you start your beta test, right? Have users that already left the platform, maybe ask you, interview them and see why they left it, and users that keep using it on and on, where did they find value to keep using it, right? Because maybe those users who kept using it could give you the answer, understanding what can you build that is going to make it valuable to the rest of the users over time, because maybe they saw something that you didn't, and that usually happens a lot with products.
Yeah. No, this is good advice. Yeah.
What I would go with is additional integrations. So features on top of your product. For example, if I would simply like to figure out which LLM is better, then I would leave your product after I would figure that out. As you mentioned, that's a soft touch user who just wants to like tackle around and that's it. But for example, if I would like to find out which LLM works best to make a roadmap for my product. Once I figured out what LLM is the best, I would like to create the actual roadmap, and I would like to implement that roadmap into like make it a dashboard with different tasks, etc. So would be glad if Matt would be here, the AI product Hive founder, because he built an app called Sinfonia that's basically works as like a knowledge base for the application that focuses on product managers. So using generation AI, he basically creates a dashboard and the structure for the product that you would like to build. For example, a web application or mobile application or something like this. And they are now thinking about ways to add a code generation into that platform. So for example, if I would be thinking what paid features people can pay for while using Illuvatar, I'd go with some integrations that can actually build something if I'm working on a product, for example. So in this particular case, we are focusing on the product management field, so to say. So I don't know what other people in other areas who are using Illuvatar might be interested in. But from my side, for example, I think my flow would be the following. I would find out what LLM helps best with generating product requirements. Then I would like to move those product requirements into the actual product structure. And after that, I would like to build an actual scaffolding for the application or build an entire application based on that prompt. So I'd go with that flow, I think. So for example, integrating with something like Sinfonia, I think that might be a great solution in your case. But yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Thing I could suggest is call it a digital twin, the model. Okay. Because then it's going to be associated with the actual problem that people are scared of, like cars crashing. It's the twin of that highway before they build it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of integration possibilities. Yeah, right. So, yeah, I mean, like, I mean, if we have time, what do you think about white labeling? Do you guys typically have like a good experience with, like, is that a product that people demand, or no? Not really. It's fine if it just hops on over to another website and boot back.
What do you mean by the white labeling?
Just like the
there are.
user interface. Like, let's say we integrate with like a platform that's like builds a product roadmap, right? And we're at the evaluation step. So, you know, there's maybe like a few different ways that you might build a product roadmap, and you just want to know like which set of parameters to use, right? And so you come to Crucible to do your side-by-side comparisons, then you hop back to the app to actually generate the roadmap, right? Which is it, you know, from a user design experience, is it better to hop to the app and come back, or is it better to provide that service as a white labeled UI or as an API for that other service to integrate themselves? Like, what seems to be the more
I think both could be possible, and honestly, not every product needs to actually be a product, but it could be also sold as a feature. And I can definitely see lots of tools using this as a feature. So you don't actually have to compete, for example, with Claude, OpenAI, whatever, but you could have integrated, let's say, for example, into Notion, right? You have, I'm writing documentation, and you could provide options for improvement using the different AIs or different prompts.
Yeah,
that could definitely work.
Yeah, Alan mentioned the API in the comments. That's, I guess, a good option for that, because like the only thing that comes to my mind is the ZenHub integration in the GitHub projects, and it works like awfully, honestly. So I'd like to go to the ZenHub UI where they fixed all the bugs and everything is working fine, instead of working with kind of trimmed ZenHub version inside of the GitHub interface, because that's laggy as hell. So
yeah, because when you offer an API, it depends on the third-party developer to build the product around it, right? Yeah. So if like the Microsoft team just doesn't want to prioritize ZenHub, then
yeah, and like those kind of integrations are the hardest ones, because if you would pull the interface of some other application into your interface, and you have a bug, which problem is it? Like, is it bug on your side or on their side? But in fact, it's like a borderline issue that somebody needs to solve, and it might take eternity to solve that. So I guess going to some third-party UI and doing all the stuff there where all the problems would be on their side, that might be like a good solution from at least the problem-solving perspective.
Yeah. Okay, very cool.
Sorry, go ahead. Oh, another thing I was thinking about is I really like the fact that you could check out different models, but I think it's even more important to check out different prompts, because that's what's going to keep me away from going back to ChatGPT or Claude or whatnot, and keep it being engaged with this platform, honestly. And even you could take it a step further. I mean, what I would like as a user, right, is for you to help me get what I want faster and more refined, more easily, right? And again, I'm not sure about the how, but maybe working out things where you have in the same, let's say in the same chat, different prompts, different conversation, and make that more conversational to get the idea refined faster, maybe using different AIs at once. Yeah, that could really be something. I feel like what I would love to see is maybe somewhere where I could, instead of trying all of them at once, all of those different platforms, maybe have them work collaboratively. I'm not sure, and help me get those my solution to my problem faster. That might be something that might be interesting.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. You know, like that's a very common machine learning paradigm, right? Like ensembling models. If, for example, if I already know that, like, if I have a set of scores, maybe I'll weight the outputs of each model and feed it to another model that says, hey, listen, I'm 90% confident in this one, 40% confident in this one, 10% confident in this one. Combine all these outputs and give me something better. Like it might be
Absolutely.
That could be a
Absolutely. And I feel like
service that is offered.
exactly, a metadata that you could already have from what all your users are doing on the different types of how do you say it, of
Divided.
models and prompts could really be useful to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay, I guess that's pretty much it. We're on time. So yeah, if anyone would have any additional questions, then I guess we can get into the Slack and proceed with the discussion. But Parsa, please notify us when you will have that soft launch. And once you will have the product hunt launch as well, please share that with the community as well. We are trying to help people who are kicking off their product launches. So
for sure. And thank you so much. Thank you for the kind invite. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Please, thank you. Congratulations again. And if you ever want to bounce some ideas around, just hit me up.
I really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Awesome.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for being a part of the call, and see ya in our Slack. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
See you guys.